everyone, wishing you all good health and peace in life. Sometimes life tests us in the most painful ways. The old house that once sheltered Huyen and little Maya could no longer withstand the weight of time. With a sudden crash, the fragile walls gave way, and in that terrifying moment, Dee was trapped beneath the ruins. Huyen's heart stopped. Her cries for help pierced the night, filled with despair and fear of losing the man who had stood by her through every storm. In that collapsing house lay not just broken wood and stone, but also the fragile hope of a family that had fought so hard to build a future. Would help arrive in time? Would fate be cruel enough to take Dee away just as peace had begun to return to their lives? The answer lay in the shadows of that night, where love, fear, and destiny collided. The rain had not stopped for 3 days. Heavy clouds pressed low over the village, and the sound of water dripping from the roof echoed through the fragile old house where Dee, Huyen, and Maya lived. Though they had begun to dream of a new life in their rebuilt home, they still kept many things in this small wooden shelter, clinging to it as a reminder of their past struggles. On that stormy afternoon, Dee went inside to gather some tools and firewood. Huyen stood outside, holding Maya close under the porch, watching the sky darken with worry. The old beams of the house groaned under the weight of the storm, but Dee's calm voice reassured them. Just a few more minutes. I will bring what we need. But fate can change in an instant. With a sudden crack loud and terrifying, the roof gave way. The weakened walls shuddered and collapsed, sending dust, wood, and broken tiles crashing down. Huyen screamed as she saw Dee disappear beneath the falling timbers. Dee, her cry pierced through the roar of the rain. She dropped everything and rushed forward, but the heavy beams blocked her path. Splinters tore her hands as she tried to lift the broken wood. Maya sobbed, clinging to her mother's clothes, her little voice trembling. Papa, Papa! Desperation surged through Huyen's veins. Her strength was no match for the ruins, yet she clawed at the rubble, shouting until her throat burned. Help! Please! Someone help us! Dee is inside! The neighbors, hearing her cries, came running through the storm. Old Tam, with his strong arms, and Lan, with her son, pushed through the mud to reach them. Together they lifted the beams, calling Dee's name. The air was thick with dust and the smell of wet earth. For a moment, silence until a faint cough broke through. Dee's voice, weak but alive, answered from under the wreckage. Huyen's tears fell freely as she bent down, her trembling hands reaching toward the shadow of the man she loved. Hold on, Dee, we're here. We won't let you go. With every pull, every shout, every heartbeat, hope returned. The storm raged above them, but in that desperate hour, it was not the wind or rain that mattered. It was the unyielding love that refused to let fate take him away. The neighbors worked furiously, their hands blistered, their breaths ragged, as they hauled the heavy beams away piece by piece. Every second felt like an eternity for Huyen. She knelt in the mud, clutching Maya to her chest with one arm while the other reached out toward the wreckage. Finally, with one last heave, Old Tam and 2 young men managed to shift the largest beam aside. There, half buried beneath splintered wood and shattered tiles, lay Dee. His face was pale, his clothes torn and covered in dust. Blood trickled from a cut on his forehead, Huyen cried, rushing forward. She grabbed his hand, trembling as if it were the only thing anchoring her to this world. Stay with me, please. Don't leave us. Dee's eyes fluttered open. He coughed, a weak sound, but to Huyen it was more beautiful than any music she had ever heard. His lips curved into the faintest of smiles as he whispered, I told you, I would never leave you. Huyen broke into sobs, her tears mixing with the rain on his face. She pressed her forehead against his hand, whispering prayers of gratitude. Maya crawled beside them, her little fingers touching Dee's arm gently as she whispered, Papa, don't sleep. Stay with us. With the help of the villagers, Dee was lifted carefully from the ruins and carried inside Lan's house nearby, where the fire was already lit to keep him warm. Huyen sat beside him, wiping the dirt from his skin, her heart pounding with both fear and relief. Through the long night, she refused to leave his side. Whenever his breath faltered, she called his name. Whenever his eyes flickered open, she gave him a smile, soft and steady, to remind him he was not alone. When dawn finally broke, the storm had passed. The old house lay in ruins, a broken memory beneath the golden light of morning. But inside the neighbor's home, Dee's hand tightened around Huyen's. His voice, still weak but stronger than before, whispered, We can lose the house, but as long as I have you and Maya, I still have everything. Huyen's tears fell again, but this time they were tears of gratitude, not despair. She kissed his hand gently and answered, And as long as we have you, Dee, no storm will ever take away our home. The morning sun shone gently over the village, glistening on wet leaves and puddles left behind by the night's heavy rain. Though the old house had collapsed, leaving behind only broken beams and scattered tiles, the sound of life slowly returned. Roosters crowing, children laughing, neighbors calling to one another. In the courtyard of Lan's house, Dee sat propped up on a bamboo bed, his forehead bandaged. He was still weak, but his spirit was unbroken. Huyen sat beside him, feeding him spoonfuls of warm porridge while Maya clung to his arm as if afraid he might disappear again. The villagers came one by one, carrying gifts of rice, vegetables, and even some tools. Old Tam spoke with a voice full of compassion. Dee, you nearly lost your life, but heaven still blesses you. Houses can be rebuilt, but a life cannot. Don't lose heart, we'll all help you build again. Huyen's eyes welled with tears as she bowed gratefully. Thank you all. Without you, I wouldn't know how to go on. For the next few days, the village became alive with kindness. Men brought bamboo and wood, women prepared meals for the workers, and children ran around gathering straw and leaves. Together, they cleared the ruins of the old house and began laying the foundation for a new one. Maya laughed happily as she helped carry small bricks in her tiny hands. Mom, Uncle Dee, our new house will be even more beautiful, right? Dee smiled weakly but with determination. Yes, Maya, stronger, safer, and filled with love. As the walls rose day by day, Huyen felt her heart slowly healing. The collapse of the old house had been terrifying, but it also revealed something precious: the strength of their bond and the kindness of the community around them. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Dee turned to Huyen and said softly, "That moment when I was trapped, I thought I would never see you again. But now, sitting here with you and Maya, I realize something. Home isn't just walls and a roof. Home is us together." Huyen reached for his hand, squeezing it tightly, her eyes glistening in the fading light. "Yes, Dee. Together, we can survive anything. Even if the house falls, our love will never collapse." And with that, they looked out at the rising frame of their new home, an enduring symbol of resilience, hope, and the promise of a peaceful future. Days turned into weeks, and slowly the new house began to take shape. Each bamboo pole stood firm, each brick laid with care, as if every villager's hand carried not only strength but also blessings for Dee, Huyen, and little Maya. When the roof was finally completed, the family stood silently in front of their new home. It was modest walls of bamboo, a tiled roof, a small kitchen in the back, but it was strong, safe, and filled with the scent of fresh beginnings. That evening, Huyen lit incense at the small family altar. The glow of the candles reflected in her tearful eyes as she whispered prayers of gratitude to their ancestors. "Please bless our home with peace, health, and warmth. May this roof always shelter us and keep us together." Maya clapped her hands in excitement. "Mom, can we eat inside now? I want to eat in our new house." Dee chuckled, his voice still hoarse but stronger than before. "Yes, tonight will be our first meal in the new home." Huyen brought out a simple spread: steamed rice, stir-fried vegetables, and a small boiled chicken gifted by a kind neighbor. She placed the dishes carefully on a low table in the middle of the room. Though the meal was humble, it felt like a banquet. The three of them sat together on a woven mat. The air was filled with the fragrance of warm food and the soft sound of rain outside, tapping gently on the new roof. For the first time in many days, Huyen's heart felt at peace. "Eat well, Maya," Dee said, placing the chicken drumstick into the little girl's bowl. "This house is for you. One day, you'll study, grow, and build your own dreams here." Maya smiled brightly, her eyes shining like the morning sun. "I love our house. I love you, Mom. I love you, Uncle Dee." Huyen looked at Dee across the table. No words were needed. In his tired smile, she saw courage. In her quiet gaze, he found strength. That night, as the family lay down to rest under the sturdy roof, Huyen whispered softly into the dark, "We have lost much, but we have gained even more. This is our true beginning." And in the silence, broken only by the gentle breathing of Maya asleep beside them, Dee squeezed her hand and answered, "Yes, this is home." The collapse of Dee and Huyen's old house was more than just the fall of wooden beams and broken tiles. It was the collapse of their fragile sense of security. In that moment of fear and despair, Huyen cried out for help, afraid of losing the one person who had brought meaning to her life. Yet out of the ruins, something far more powerful emerged: the strength of love, the kindness of community, and the unshakable will to begin again. This story reminds us that a home is not simply walls, doors, or a roof. Houses may fall, storms may rage, but what truly makes a home is the love shared within it. Dee, Huyen, and little Maya showed us that even when everything seems lost, As long as there is family, hope remains alive. It also teaches us the importance of community. When disaster struck, neighbors came together, bringing food, tools, and their own hands to rebuild what had been destroyed. In moments of hardship, we often discover that kindness and compassion are stronger than misfortune. Finally, the story tells us about resilience. Life will always test us with pain, uncertainty, and loss. But if we face it with courage and faith, every ending can become a new beginning. Just like Dee and Huyen, we can rise from the ruins to build something even stronger than before. In the end, true wealth is not measured by what we own, but by the love that surrounds us, the people who stand beside us, and the hope that guides us forward. A house may collapse, but with love, trust, and unity, we can always build a home.